Yes! Yes, ladies and gentlemen, what is going on? Welcome to episode, 204 of Two Dudes and Some Bullshit. My name's Dave McCrae, coming to you live from the Voice Man Studios in Toronto, Canada. He's Tony Michael in Atlanta, Georgia. And tonight, we are discussing Freddy Krueger, Jason Voorhees, Michael Myers, Leatherface. Are they a product of their time? Are they? We're going to find out tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, we are live! Ladies and gentlemen, live! Episode 204. Welcome to the show, everybody. My name's Dave McCrae. What's going on, Mr. Tony Michael? How are you?
Hot and sweaty. How are you?
Hot and sweaty. What's the temperature there in Atlanta, Georgia?
I don't know. Freaking our weather's drunk right now. We had a very cool August and a freaking warm September. Go figure. Yeah. I thought we were going to have a really nice extended fall this year, but September had to. And now we're in October, and it's like still warm, tugging along here. I'm like, man, I'm tired of this.
Yeah, you know, it was
like cold days
for like the last, with the exception of today, this past weekend, and for the last like 2 or 3 days prior to that, it was like in Celsius, because that's what we are here in Canada. It was like 29, 30, 32 degrees Celsius, which is like, 85. Like it was ridiculous. I walk outside, the leaves are falling, and I'm in shorts and a t-shirt going for a run. I'm like, what the hell is, and I'm sweating bucket. I'm like, what is going on here? Now today, It was only about 15 degrees Celsius, which is like 50 something, 60 something, whatever it was. And I was like, that's better. That's better. That's the fall I know and love. And I think the rest of, I'm looking at the long range forecast, and it looks like it's starting to stabilize into traditional southwestern Ontario. Southern Ontario, which is where I am. Southern Ontario weather, the usual kind of fall that you get in this part of Canada, and of course in your hometown neck of the woods in Connecticut, New York, all those places there. So it seems like it's starting to settle. So we'll see.
And north of you is the igloos and shit, right?
Yeah, well, but like 37 seconds. I just watched. I walk 37 seconds out my door, and there's igloos everywhere.
And there's igloos.
Yep, igloos and ice fishing and. We just got electricity last week, which is great. And running water is coming this Thursday, which is tomorrow, which is great. Yeah, so very excited about that. So Tony, you and I...
We will be like in the low 70s starting tomorrow. It's been like mid 80s, high 80s, and then we're going to drop. And it seems like that's going to be like mid 70s for the rest.
Good. That's good.
But yes.
So you and I were talking and over Instagram, over chat. We were chatting and we were talking about, it's the spooky season. It's October. Here we are. What can we talk about that hasn't been talked about before? I mean,
absolutely fucking nothing.
Absolutely nothing. We've talked about everything under the sun. There are literally 203 episodes of this show you can go back and watch. But it is spooky season, and we thought, what can we talk about? And we started talking about, Freddy Krueger and Michael Myers and Jason and Leatherface and Ghostface and this face and that face and blah, blah, blah. And we thought, Art the Clown right now is tearing it up. And whether you like the movies or not, that's, irrelevant. He's tearing it up. He's extremely popular. And we were talking about that. And we were talking about how, right now in the world of sort of the big four, now you could include Ghostface in there as well. But in terms of the original, before the slasher subgenre kind of died and then there was that resurgence in the late 90s, your big four, I know there's Chucky in there, but I'm just saying, Leatherface, Michael Myers, Freddy Krueger, Jason Voorhees. And, we were talking about that. And of course, right now there is the Crystal Lake TV series that's coming next year. They're in the middle of shooting it. They're shooting it right now. But Michael Myers, all we got coming from him is, a video game. With Jason Jason Voorhees outside of the series. There was a Bloody Disgusting article recently. One of the main sort of bigwigs at Jason Universe basically said, I'm paraphrasing, but a movie is in the works. And people were getting excited about it's in the works. It's in the works. And I'm like, whoa, hang on a sec. That's industry speak for we're working on it, which could mean anything from we're in the middle of having coffee at Starbucks talking about what we want to do, all the way to, maybe there are some deals being done. Maybe there are some scripts being, ideas being taught. Basically, cameras are not rolling next month, probably not next year. So I'm of the mindset that, until you hear something like greenlit, pre-production, that kind of thing, it is what it is. It's basically just a safe thing to say to keep you at bay and to keep you satisfied. No, we're working on it. Don't worry. So that could be anywhere between now and 2096. But anyway, so there's that coming. Freddy Krueger, non-existent really, right? We don't know what's going on there. Texas Chainsaw, they had the Netflix thing, but it's like, what's going on? There's something, maybe they want to, there's rights being tossed around now. A24 and we were just kind of thinking about this, like, are these franchises, are these characters products of their time? Because, as much as we love them and they still do very well, are they products of their time? Are they best left maybe in their respective eras if you're going to make them? Because you brought up something, and don't worry, I'm going to let you go here in a second. I'm going to let you just spiel right off.
You've got some requests already, though, really quick. Show off the t-shirt. They want to see your Freddy t-shirt.
Oh, the t-shirt. There it is. There it is, folks. There it is. Freddy Krueger t-shirt. Thank you.
Where did you get it?
Where'd I get it?
Should we not plug them?
No, I'm not. No, it's not. It was gifted to me, so I'm not entirely sure where. So there you go. But I will just say that, there's all these sort of things. There's these things happening. Things, are moving, and we were talking about, the Freddy Krueger and the Jason and I have some notes here that I will refer to in a second, but I've talked long enough. I want to hand it over to you now to get the ball started from your perspective. Are they products of their time? Are they best left alone? Maybe not making them anymore? Or you brought up a good point, which was if you are going to make them again, maybe you do it like this. Tony, what was it? Take it away.
Well, the idea actually came from watching the Ed Gein Monster series. Really good, by the way. And not going to get into spoilers of that because it's still relatively new. But there's a segment there where they do they tie in the inspiration for Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Mm-hmm. And when I was watching that, at first I was like, wait a second, like, are they showing the movie? And then I'm like, no, this isn't the movie. They're doing a recreation of the movie. And then I'm like, son of a bitch, they're doing a really fucking good job of the recreation of the fucking movie.
That's
cool.
I
mean, like, as someone who did these photos for several years and recreating and getting the specifics, especially Leatherface, that was a big one that we did. And the tie, the shirt, the suit, the apron, and all that. The mask.
Your photos were
like that.
sorry to interrupt, but your photos were so good and so great and really, really so cool. They were really cool. I remember you were doing those, Michael and Leatherface. That people were stealing them and using them on social media and manipulating them.
I know, and ruining them.
And ruining them. Literally ruining them.
Which is why now I just do everything in black and white.
I know.
You can't fuck
that
up.
And how hard is it to just give credit to the photographer or to whenever I post something online that isn't mine, I'll always, if I don't know where it comes from, I'll usually just say, not my photo, but this is really cool.
Not my photo, right? Yeah.
You know what I mean? Anyway.
But as someone who put a lot of work into doing a recreation, when I was watching those sequences during that series, I was like, son of a bitch, whoever was on the set design to do these recreation of Chainsaw Massacre, they did their fucking homework. I mean, down to what Sally wore, what Pam wore, fucking A, what was her cousin's name? The dude in the wheelchair?
Frank? No.
Frank Ferguson? No, not Ferguson.
Frankie? No.
Frankie?
Harold?
God, guys,
Hanky?
I'm getting old.
Frankie? Is it Frankie?
Who was Sally's cousin?
I love when he goes down the hill. Ah!
Yeah, no.
Frankie, right? Frankie? No.
Well, that dude. Anyways, that guy.
That guy. Yeah,
But then like even Leatherface, the Sawyer family, and everything. Like just, I mean, they really. I mean, they didn't half-ass it as far as like when they were doing, showing the sequences of Franklin.
There you go. Thank you, Brooke. Yeah.
I knew we were in the wheelhouse of it. Yeah. They really, like I said, whoever was in charge of the set, for making that really did their homework and they understood the assignment. Right. They did a really great job. And then as I'm watching this, now obviously I could tell it was digital converted to like a film look, right? You kind of know, like, sure. You know what film looks like, but you also know when someone's trying to.
Well, they put a bit of grain on it, Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. Having said that, when I was watching it, especially the guy they cast as Leatherface, man, as also like that dude had every mannerism. He had height, he had the physique, everything. Like, if they do a Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie, this guy needs to be Leatherface in the future because he looks just like Gunnar Hansen.
I'm looking forward to checking it out. That's awesome.
When I say looks, I don't mean like what I'm saying like physique. I'm saying the height, everything, mannerisms, and all that. It was like that's Leatherface. Like when I think of Leatherface, that's fucking Leatherface. So then I started to sit there, and that's when you and I started talking. I was like, is it better to keep these movies in their respected eras, like Texas Chainsaw Massacre in the 70s, Halloween in the 70s, Friday the 13th, and Nightmare on Elm Street in the 80s, versus to, making a movie and setting it in modern times? Because I just feel like the modern time thing, these characters don't belong. They belong then. You know what I mean? Because like you said, they are a product of their time. For example, when the Jessica Biel Chainsaw Massacre remake was done it's hard to believe, but that's over 20 years ago. But when that was done, they kept it in the 70s, but it was done with a modern, edging it up a little bit more intense for the modern day movie going audience. And then that led me to IPs. They've never really stuck the landing, whenever they do a reboot, a remake, or, the David Gordon Green. Another point, right? You take the David Gordon Green trilogy, the flashback sequences, pretty unanimous with everybody. We all liked it. No, there's really not many people who will sit there and say like the flashback sequence sucks. We all praised the attention to detail, how well they did. It felt like you were watching the original Halloween. The guy who played Michael really captured Nick Castle's essence from the original film. Aaron something, right?
Aaron Armstrong.
Is that his name?
Yep. Aaron Armstrong. Okay, this should reconnect us. Sorry about that, man.
No, it's fine.
Okay.
Shit happens.
It happens. So I'll let you know when we are back. I think we are back. Chat room, let us know. Welcome back, guys. Okay, thank you very much, Teal Kit. We are back, ladies and gentlemen. 9,000 people left, but that's all right. We are back. So, Tony, please continue what you were saying. You were talking about, Oh, hang on. Yeah, now I'm hearing you on my phone. Okay. Test.
Highlight version, real quick. I'll run it down really quick. Idea came from watching the Aegean Monster Show, where they were showing some cut sequences of how they made Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Was impressed with the attention to detail, the set design, and how much they really did a great job recreating that and recreating the behind the scenes of showing them filming Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It made me really feel like I was watching the original film. That's where the idea came in of, hey, like that's as close to what I feel, a Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie, should feel like. And are these movies a subject to the eras in which they came out in 70s, in the 80s? And I do feel that way. I think, like, for example, you take that Friday, the Jessica Biel reboot that I was quickly talking about. They did such a great job with that. Keeping it in the 70s, but for the time, early 2000s, they ramped up you know, they ramped up the violence, they ramped up the intensity. It wasn't exactly done in the original film, but they kept it in the 70s. The flashback sequence in Halloween Kills, everybody loved it. You know, they loved just, it felt like you were watching a Halloween movie. And that's where I started thinking, like, if you're a studio and you're sitting there trying to figure out what you're trying to do with these characters, we're going to quickly find out how you know, the era, right, of what we're talking about is with Crystal Lake, as they're keeping that in, you know, in the 70s, that maybe that's where they go going forward with these films, instead of like, you know, bringing it, you know, like with Halloween 2018, 40 years later, we're in 2018, you know, early 20s, kids walking around with smartphones and shit, like. And then you've got the earlier parts of the franchise where fucking smartphones and technology, you know, today doesn't even exist. And to me, when I watch the older Halloween movies, that to me, that feels like I'm watching a Halloween film. Same thing with Nightmare, same thing with Friday, and same thing with Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So if I'm a studio and I'm sitting thinking like, what do we do? You make a Nightmare on Elm Street film, but you put it in the early 80s. You know, same thing with Friday the 13th. Now, obviously, Crystal Lake is going to really, you know,
yeah, it's going to be interesting.
That's really going to let us know where we're at with that franchise. Like, do people want Jason? You know what I mean? Even though we're not going to get Jason in the opening part of this, and also, to what you have mentioned several times, is this going to be the new way we get these characters? Are they going to no longer do movies, and are they going to go into, if Crystal Lake is successful, right?
Right.
That's usually the formula, that if one is successful, the others are going to follow suit.
Right.
You know? And
yep, go ahead.
No, what were you going to say?
Oh, I was just wanted to piggyback off of what you were saying. I think I think there is a big possibility that the future of these beloved, you know, 80s, 70s, these slasher icons, you know, could be television for all intents and purposes. And right. And the reason for that is because, hang on, I want to bring up my notes here. Because there's two ways to look at this, right? Are they a product of their time, and should they just be left alone? There's that kind of thing. They're just, you know, they're very much 80s, 70s sort of stuff. Or are they a product of their time period as well? You know, so therefore, if you do approach them, you know, in modern days, do they work better if it's set within their original time period, which of course is what Crystal Lake is set. It's set in the 70s. And so that there could be, you know, reasons for that.
So there's already kind of an aesthetic feel right off the bat, like, okay, cool. And again, I don't know if it's true what I've seen on Instagram, but I've seen these reels surfacing around where they look like they're behind the scenes set photos.
Yeah, they would be. They would be
in New Jersey.
Yep.
and where they're filming it.
Yep. Yeah.
And if what I'm seeing is legit, then I'm like, okay, this is even just the aesthetic look of the still images I've seen. Like, that feels like a Friday the 13th movie.
Right.
You know what I mean? And let's see what happens. Right. You know, I mean, I get people are going to be like, oh, you Jason, but I get it.
No, I get it. So I wrote this down this afternoon in preparation for our little show. So this is kind of the ballpark of my thoughts. So, you know, where do I start here? Oh, hang on a sec. Let me roll up there. Sorry, I was just like typing all this shit down. So for me, I believe that characters like Freddy, Jason, Michael, and Leatherface, and so on and so forth, are very much products of their time. Now, let me explain, of course, how I feel about this. They were born in the late 70s or early 80s, right, in terms of their characters, an era when horror was raw, rebellious, pushing boundaries that mainstream studios, for the large, again, I'm speaking generally here, were still kind of too afraid to touch, right? Back then, these slashers represented cultural anxieties and imprints of the moment. So like, you know, the fear of suburbia and sexual repression and loss of innocence and distrust in authority and all that kind of stuff. And it's not that horror movies still don't have that kind of thing, but it's very much sort of, very much, you know, you get that in those, you know, types of movies. Not movies.
I meant to ask you if there's any truth to this. They also alluded to Toby Hooper in the series, aside from hearing the story from his uncle about Ed Gein, that this was also a stick it to the man film. The reason why he did it, that there's kind of a political undertone to it. I didn't know if there was any truth to that, or were they trying to shoehorn something?
No, it could have been. I'm not sure. Maybe the chat room knows.
Okay.
Whereas today, studios operate in a totally different type of landscape, which is true. They're more risk averse, data driven, and focused on franchise control and broad appeal. Slashers are tricky. They're very tricky because they rely on repetition and simplicity. One killer, one setting, one night. It's that kind of, for the most part, right? And that doesn't really fit. And I've talked about this on my channel many times when I've been talking about Friday the 13th and fans. It just, how hard is it to make a Friday the 13th if you just do this, 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 this? And it's like, yes, but the problem is that in 2025, you might be able to do that once, but you can't do that 7 or 8 times like you could in the 80s because it's 2025. It's horror is in a different landscape. Culturally, we're different. Socially, we're different. Who we are as people, as a society, we're just different. And so you might be able to get one Friday the 13th movie like that. But if you want Jason around longer than one movie, there has to be more meat on the bone, right? And it's kind of just because of the era that we're in. So that's why, as I'm just saying here, you're seeing things like the Friday the 13th shift towards a TV series, Crystal Lake, because it gives studios set in the 70s, because it gives studios a way to stretch out the lore, to modernize it and test the audience without the massive box office pressure of a theatrical release. It's also a way to bring in younger viewers who binge content more than they go to the theaters. So I think you're right. I think this is going to be a real test to kind of see how this works. Because if you think about it, let's say the Crystal Lake series is 8 episodes. Well, it's probably going to be an hour long each. I don't know. Maybe they're half hour, but let's say, right? 8 episodes, 8 hours.
Even if it's 45 minutes.
Even if it's 45, right? But let's say it's 8 hours, right? So that's 8 episodes, 8 hours. Your average Friday the 13th movie is under 90 minutes. It's like 85 minutes or something. And that's with credits. Remember, TRT is total runtime. So that 85 minutes would be with credits. So the movie might be actually 80 minutes. And so now you have 8 hours. That's a lot of time to flesh things out, to put more meat on the bone. As I've said many times, when I say more meat on the bone, I don't mean turning it into something it's not. I just mean you have an opportunity here to flesh things out a little bit more. You're going to have your kills. You're going to have your, probably your boobs and your sex and all that. And your teenagers, that's fine. But there's an opportunity here to not just do that and see how it plays out. To your point, and it's set in the 70s, and to your point, or to both of our points, because I think, we agree largely on this, is that I think the future for these, it's not that you'll never see a Friday the 13th movie again. Yeah, you will. You'll probably see Freddy on the big screen, but I question their longevity in that format today. I question whether Jason and Friday the 13th can have longevity at the box office like the fans want. The fans don't want Jason for one movie. They want Jason for 7 movies. That's what they want. I don't know if that's possible today, because even the Halloween films were diminishing returns. And I know there was day and date in that. But if you look at what happened with Halloween, right? You got one movie, you're like, oh, we're kind of back. And then you get kills, and you're like, what's going on? And then ends, we're like, oh, fuck, it's bullshit again. And that only took 3 movies. You know what I mean? So it's like, do we really think we're going to get 7 great Friday the 13th movies today? I don't know. No. Whereas if you have a series.
But if we got 5 strong seasons with 10 episodes per season.
Right, where there's time to flesh it out, get, attached to the characters, build the lore, the mythology, really build on the universe, keeping the Friday the 13th DNA there, keeping the Halloween DNA there if they decide to do that with Halloween, keeping the Elm Street. I mean, imagine a Elm Street series. Do you know what I mean? Where you could really explore Fred Krueger and the backstory. And remember, he's not, the characters of Jason and Freddy are not reliant on anonymity and ambiguity and mystique like Michael is, right? We know why Freddy's doing what he's doing. We know why Jason's doing what he's doing. Is killed in the lake, comes back, Freddy was, the child murderer, comes back, he's burning, the parents on help. We know all that. So there's not, but think about, you could show him as Fred Krueger, and you could show, the court case. You could show you could show it. You could show the build up or whatever, you know what I mean? And tease the future and all that. You could really flesh out. So I wonder, is really to keep these characters relevant, because they are largely products of their time, culturally, socially. They're very 80s. They're very 80s. Just fucking watch the movies. They're 80s movies. The Friday the 13th movies are B-movie schlocky 80s nonsense. And we love them. We love them. But let's not pretend that they're like, oh, they're incredible pieces of film. No, they're not. They're B-movie slasher. They are products of their time. And so to bring those characters, to make them serious and to make them very 2025, very serious, very, very much, we need to take these things. I don't know. I mean, is there longevity in that on the big screen? I don't. One movie, yes, because people are excited. It's going to do gangbusters at the box office. People are ripping and they're excited. But 5 movies? 6 movies, a whole series again, Jason's Reborn on the big screen. I'm skeptical. I'm incredibly skeptical of it. So, and maybe to your point, setting it and leaning into that 80s time period or that 70s time period, might be interesting. I mean, it's like bringing back the Universal monsters, right? And, you try to bring back, look at Nosferatu. What was the time period it was set, right? Look at the time period it was set. Look at, when they bring back, Tom Cruise's The Mummy didn't do that well, because it was, you know what I mean? But Nosferatu was, Nosferatu, it was very much set in that world, in that time period. To Tony's point, that maybe when you bring back these characters, it's best to, maybe revisit them in the eras for which they were created. I'm not saying they can't be successful if they reimagine it today. Of course they could be, but to think you're going to get 5 Elm Street movies like you did in the 80s, I don't know, man. Am I crazy, Tony? Am I crazy for thinking that? I don't think so.
No, I think if you were to step back and look at the 4, only really 2 of them you would want to consider maybe releasing in the theaters, and that would be Halloween and Chainsaw Massacre. The reason why is you're not going to do a Chainsaw Massacre series. There's just not enough there that warrants let's do a series. So, okay, you're probably better off it would make sense to do a movie. Halloween, the IP is strong, same thing. Elm Street, to what you were saying, there's a lot there.
Yeah.
You can do a series with that. There's a lot of material to work on.
And you could go fucking dark.
Right. You can go very dark with that. And and like what they're doing with Crystal Lake. So yeah, it could be a scenario where if Crystal Lake, my gut feeling is if Crystal Lake is successful, Elm Street's going to be right around the corner. It's a gut feeling. You almost see the writing on the wall that they're sitting there with the franchise right now going, okay, well, let's see how this Crystal Lake thing does. Chainsaw, I just don't see that. I just a 10 episode series. They've tried to do backstories with Leatherface and shit, and it just doesn't fucking work. You just keep it fucking simple with Chainsaw, right? You know what I mean? And if you're gonna do Chainsaw, keep it in the 70s. There's just something about it, like I said earlier with the Jessica Biel movie that was set in the 70s, but done with more of a modern edge to it. The original as well, and then watching this new Ed Gein series and seeing what they did, it's proof that they can do it. Okay, because they did it in the Netflix series and it fucking looked great. Even if it was just a couple of minutes, I was like, man, I want to see more of that shit. And it just felt like I was watching a Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie. Halloween, if you're going to do a series, I think we kind of all said this before, that you probably would rather just go down the road of the anthology stuff and not Michael. I just feel like Michael, you can still get away with him on the big screen. That I think that's where he belongs. But if you want to do an anthology thing like the Season of the Witch shit, that would be cool.
That'd be cool. I'd love to see that.
I wouldn't mind seeing that. But if you were gonna do Michael again on the big screen, I was thinking about this, like, how would that work? You know, like, where's the happy medium, right? You don't want to redo it. You don't want to shoot it like it's you can set it in the 70s, but you don't want to have the soft, when I say soft, the soft violence that Carpenter did in the 70s, because that's not going to work with the modern movie-going audience. But you also don't want to lose the character of Michael either and go like Rob Zombie's approach and what he did in his reboot. It's almost like you got to kind of get in the middle of the road with it. You want to ramp up the violence in Halloween, but keeping it also to what the Halloween movies are about, because the Halloween movies originally were not about the blood and violence, especially when you watch the first two. Well, I guess you can say,
well, the second one, yes, but the first one, no.
Although Earl does get his head like ripped off, but you know, I mean, like, you know what I'm trying to say? Like,
yes,
you got to ramp up the violence, but not going Art the Clown, ramp up with Michael, but you don't want to turn it into white trash either. In fact, what I was thinking about this on my walk today. A really cool idea is actually, stealing the idea of what they did in Halloween Kills in the flashback sequence. Is if I were to do it today, I would just open the movie up. You hear the gunshots and you see Loomis running out of the house, and boom, we're right in it. We're right in the mix of Halloween night. He's already killed the 3 kids, right? Yeah. And he's out there still roaming around Haddonfield. You don't have to redo, him going to the hospital and whatnot. He got shot, he fell off, and he's still out there roaming around, and he's killing more people. Right. Hell, you could even do a sequence with Laurie's character at the hospital, talking to the sheriff or the deputies when they go there to talk to her to find out like what happened, who was this, does she know who this person was, and she can tell her, she was followed home from school, so you could do like a quick flashback sequence of her and the girls walking home, and you see the car, and then you see him by the bush, and you see him in the backyard, and you see him standing outside the school. So rather than remaking the entire film as she's talking to the cops and telling what happened, you're seeing those iconic moments from the original film, but the movie's still set on Halloween night. Right. And you jump from there and you go from there, rather than retelling like he's a little boy and you're seeing him kill Judith. And if you want
like his origin story.
Right. If you needed that, you could have a moment where Loomis is, going around town with the sheriffs and they're looking for Michael, and he's talking to them about how he killed his sister. And you can have a quick flashback sequence of Michael killing his sister, maybe from a different perspective. Right. You don't need to redo the whole fucking thing, like, all over again. But yeah, if I was trying to think of an idea of how to jumpstart the Halloween franchise, set it in the 70s, but set it on Halloween night. Like, let's just fucking go. Like, we don't need, we know the whole fucking backstory. We don't need to do all that shit all over again. Like, let's just fucking get into it and run with it. And you don't have to go where it ends up in Haddonfield Memorial Hospital. It's just fucking Michael on a tear on Halloween night.
Yeah. And I think that might actually make a great one episode in an anthology series. And so you have that. Yeah, no, but like
that's your starting point.
That's your starting. That's just like, and it has a beginning, a middle, and an end. It's just one episode. And then the next episode is something else, the Charlie Bowles thing. And the next episode it's just an anthology of Halloween stories in the Halloween universe. And the reason I say that is because unlike the other characters, again, I speak for myself, but I know I do speak for a lot of Halloween fans. If you are going to, and I'm not saying it's impossible, but I'm saying it's trickier than somebody like Freddy or Jason or Leatherface or Pinhead or Ghostface or whatever, because Michael is built on the foundation of the unknown. It's the mystique. It's the mystery. And if you do a series with Michael at Smith's Grove or a Dr. Loomis prequel or whatever, by virtue of going back and just having more lore revealed, you are revealing more of the mystery. You are revealing more of what happened before. You are revealing more. Like, there's no reason to tell the Michael Myers Smith's Grove story if we're not going to see anything, right? And there's no purpose in going back and telling Loomis in his younger years, because I've always believed that Loomis had a largely normal life. I think it is clearly not verbatim on a silver platter, but just by virtue of his behavior in the original Halloween, it is clear that this child psychiatrist, this is the first time he's ever seen anything like this to this degree. And that's why he's losing his mind. He's like, I'm telling you, Michael. Whereas before that, he probably saw some fucked up kids, but it wasn't like this. If you go back and tell the stories of the kids before Michael, in order to make the show interesting, you got to make them pretty fucked up. And you don't want to outshine Michael. You don't want to upstage Michael by having characters and children that Loomis was dealing with before Michael, even crazier, because Loomis was a fish out of water with Michael. That's the whole point. So there's no, like, the story's done. Like, I don't know what you do with Michael Myers.
Well, that's what I said. Like, if you were to redo Halloween again and set it in the 70s, like, do we need to see Michael as a little boy grab the knife, walk upstairs, kill Judith?
No, not at all.
Flash forward, right? Do we need to go through the whole, like? But what you, like I said, what you can do just to give the audience just a little bit of that flavor is that whether it was a series or a movie, if you were to jumpstart the film right at like the heart of Halloween night, he's already killed Annie, he's already killed Bob, he's already killed Linda, he's not related to fucking Laurie, and she's off going to the hospital, being tended to her wounds, and as she's telling the cops what happened, you can have those moments real quick, little, snippets of the girls walking home. You see the car, you see him standing by the bush, you see him standing in the backyard, and the audience will be like, oh, okay, cool, right? It happens real quick in her story that she's telling the cops, but the heart of the movie is taking place on Halloween night, and it just opens the door to go in any direction you want.
That's
new
true.
Characters, new kills that you haven't seen before, and then obviously, if you were going to set it in the 70s, you don't want to go full on Art the Clown with the way he kills people, but you do have to ramp it up a little bit. You can't do what Carpenter did in the 70s.
Oh, of course. It's about that balance.
What you can do, though, is keep him in the fucking shadows. Yes. Because you're setting it at night, and it's a night film.
Yeah, exactly.
So you can bring a lot of that back, and I just think that opens the door to just go into any direction you want rather than telling the same story, but they're brother and sister.
But you could do that with them all, in a lot of ways. I mean, look, the Crystal Lake series is a prequel, and so it's largely going to focus on Pamela. I know you and I are. Is it
a prequel that leads up to the original film, or is this a prequel that is giving it a jump start?
So it's I believe it's a prequel that's giving a fresh jump start. It's a prequel in the sense that it's a story that's happening before, like it's the Pamela Voorhees story, right? And so, but I know that you and I, for years, are huge champions of the Pamela Voorhees character. And so, listen, will it be successful? Who knows? Will it be what the fans want? Who knows? But at least it's not the same fucking thing over and over again. They're trying, and this is on purpose. And for all of you, and there were people, Brian Fuller left, it's going to suck now. No, Brian Fuller was going to do it in an elevated sort of fashion as well. The problem is that a lot of fans today think of the word elevated, they think Hereditary, they think Midsommar, they think The Shining. And yes, those are elevated films, yes. But as I've often said, it's a spectrum. Think of it like, a skyscraper, right? You can go from, the Friday the 13th movies are B-movie, schlocky, 80s nonsense, and we love them. They're great. But they would be like in the basement, in terms of this skyscraper. Nobody's saying we've got to take it from the basement to the 115th floor like Hereditary or The Shining. No, you take it from the basement to, I don't know, the third floor.
Mid-level or mid-level. You get kind of a happy medium, right?
Yeah, no, exactly. And all that means is putting more meat on the bone, more of a story, more lore, more mythology, building it out a bit more so you care about the characters a bit more. You have to do that today. Maybe not for you, but if you want Jason around longer than 7 minutes, I'm telling you, you can't just deliver tits, teens, and blood. You can do that once, but you ain't going to get longevity out of that, not in 2025. And then people go, but look at Terrifier.
It's a different movie-going audience.
It's
not the same. And Terrifier, look, but Terrifier, I said this.
But people
Terrifier
point to it.
Caught lightning in a Terrifier caught lightning in a bottle. because the horror industry right now in the horror community have nothing. There's nothing. I mean, we're not getting anything. So here comes this character, and it's like, oh shit, cool. I got something to go and watch. Do I think Art the Clown's gonna be talked about 10 years from now? No. I mean, because I just don't see people. I mean, like, those are not movies that you can just. I mean, first of all, that dude is dark. That dude got issues, man. I just watched the third one, and I'm just like, bro, like, there's just things that I just was like, man, I can't believe he went there, but he went there with it, and like. I mean, look, I'm happy he got success out of it. I think it's great, but I also think that because Halloween didn't stick the landing, we don't have any new Freddy movies, we don't have any new Jason movies. Here comes this character. Oh, cool, we got something to go watch, and that's the only reason why it worked.
It's true. Well, but it's true, but I'm going to add to it, and I've talked about this before. People often say, when I talk about the argument that, you know, the Friday the 13th, the Jason, all that kind of stuff wouldn't work today for today's audience's longevity in terms of the formula, people then, not everybody, but people will often pounce on me and say, but look at Terrifier, $90 million at the box office, it's huge, blah, blah, blah. And I think, yes, that's true, but let's not, I mean, there's nuance here, right? The Terrifier films, part 2 and 3. 2, $15 million at the box office, you know, not that wide of a release. Part 3, massive release, nearly $100 million at the box office. No one is denying it was a gigantic success.
Right. I think that's great. I think it's
100%
awesome that they got success.
100%. But there, and I say this, I say this in a positive way. I don't say this as a demeaning sort of thing. There is a shtick to the Terrifier films. There is a hook to the Terrifier films. That is whether you realize it or not, it is unrated. It is the excessive, gratuitous gore. They are borderline snuff type films, right? You know, that exploitative, not snuff, but that exploitative splatter, you know, sort of like 70s, like I feel like I've watched something I shouldn't have kind of, and they're hugely successful. Now you could say that they're hugely successful because Jason, Freddy, and Michael, that's true, but it's also the hook. And that hook is again, whether you realize it consciously or not,
carnival ride.
That's exactly it. It's the step right up, and you go, yes, for Art the Clown, but you also go, whether you think about it subconsciously or not, to see how much gorier it's going to be. How much am I going to withstand the gore? You bring your mom, you trick your sister, you trick your kid, you trick your grandpa, you bring them to it's a nice little Christmas movie, and all of a sudden, you know, there's a hook, there's a gimmick, there's a shtick, and there's nothing wrong with that. But if you take Art the Clown and put him in a there's a reason why Damien Leone turned down all the studios that wanted him, because they said, we want this character, but we got to do it this way. And smartly, he said, well, that's not Art the Clown, that's not Terrifier, right?
I respect that.
I 100%. Yeah. He did the right thing. But do we really believe? Now, we don't know. I have no idea, but I believe there's at least a strong circumstantial argument to suggest that if Art the Clown was, for lack of a better way of saying it, a regular slasher horror movie, would it have made as much money? Would it be nearly as popular? I don't know. I mean, you know, you look at Thanksgiving, that was a regular slasher movie, and it didn't come close to $90 million at the box office, right? And so... I don't know. He's a fascinating character. David Howard Thornton is great in the role.
Success is what you said. You
well,
said
that's part of it. But it's a big part of it.
When we were DMing each other about it, and I'm sending Dave messages. I'm like, bro, you have no idea what he's doing to little children.
Yeah, I still haven't seen the third one yet.
Like, we're crossing lines, man. That like. My morale, like, I had to go to church and like ask for forgiveness because I was just like, what the hell am I watching? It's like, look, I'm all like, there's just certain things that I don't want to see in a horror movie. And he kind of crossed some lines for me in that third film.
That's fair.
I'm just
That's fair.
Yeah, no. Like teenagers, you know, I'm good. Like my brain can say, yeah, they're teenagers, they're annoying, kill them.
Yeah.
Little kids, I'm just like, I don't want to go there. Like, I just like my morale. But to your point, you can say that almost about any movie when you get into the gratuitous violence, that it's hard. I can't sit there and say like, yeah, I want to watch Terrifier again, knowing what my brain is about to watch and process. I can say that about, not even just a horror film. I can say the same thing about Passion of the Christ. I've watched it one time.
Yeah.
I won't go back to watch it again because it's a very heavy film. Like right. I love me some Charlton Heston, 10 Commandments. I like good feel spiritual movies and whatnot, but Passion, I can't do that because I'm watching a guy get beat for 2 hours. Like right. It's like a very hard movie. That's Terrifier. It's like, you're going to watch people just get mutilated in the most grotesque way. And I'm just like,
right. And that's,
yeah, okay, cool. Like fun for like a carnival type, fun ride. But like, am I going to go back and watch it again? No.
Well, that's the hook, right? That's again, I hope people understand that I'm not diminishing the success. I'm simply trying to articulate part of the reason I believe it was so successful and how it differentiates itself from regular quote unquote slasher movies like Freddy, Jason, or Michael. There is something that the Terrifier films have. Yes, Art the Clown, David Howard Thornton is great, in the role and he's an attractive villain, right? Absolutely. Sure. But you take him out of that kind of environment in just a regular horror movie where you see a bit of blood but it cuts away, or you see the insert of the knife, but then we go to some just a regular horror movie. I don't know. I'm not convinced that the same level of success would be there. So then the question look at the new Silent Night, Deadly Night film that's about to come out. It's unrated.
Yeah, you told me about that. I need to check out the trailer for that.
It's unrated, right? And so is this a new trend now? Is this what we have to do where, because we're so desensitized that now we have to, have these unrated, very gruesome, gratuitous, violent horror movies to sort of get us back into the theaters, or to kind of jiggle our jillies a little bit, you know what I mean? In terms of, I just made that up, but is that the next sort of step? So yes, it's true that Art the Clown is hugely successful, and people often point to that as an example that people still want the blood, guts, and gore, and that's all you need. But that's gratuitous. That's excessive. That is an exception to the rule, not necessarily the rule of what we usually see. There's a reason why these things don't usually pan out in terms of the older school legacy franchises.
I think the one common denominator with films like that always, especially with young adults, I think you and I come from a different perspective because we're older now. We're approaching 50. So our tastes are a little bit different than when we were younger. But yeah, it's you said this when we were talking back and forth last week about how watching these films, it's like going on a carnival ride. So, and the more you ramp up, the more people are gonna be like, oh my God, did you see that movie, man? He did this, they showed this, which, is gonna get people to want to go, well, okay, well, let me check this out and see what this was all about, right? And that's all it is. But like, as far as like a rewatch value, and will Art the Clown have the same level of, will people be talking about him like you and I have talked about what we grew up with Michael and Freddy and Jason and Leatherface and whatnot? I don't see that.
It will be
maybe it's possible.
It's possible.
We'll see. And 20 years from now, we'll see what happens. Yeah, right. And
we'll see what happens with Terrifier 4 and whether or not he comes back to it. I mean, he's certainly extremely popular within horror for sure, and he has knocked on the larger pop culture door. Absolutely. A little
bit, but you don't have didn't even like, this just goes to show you where Freddy's popularity was in the 80s. Like, if I'm not mistaken, even Ronald Reagan quoted Nightmare on Elm Street in like a speech. He did. When you have like the president quoting a Nightmare on Elm Street, that just goes to show you where Freddy was at that time.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yes, and it's different today. The culture is different. How you achieve success and how that's measured is different than it was in the 80s. So there's no denying that Art the Clown is extremely popular, and people love him
within the horror community. I agree.
100%. But I've even had, and I've said this too, and I haven't seen part 3 yet, but I've had Terrifier fans reach out to me when Terrifier 3 came out and they're big, and they are big Terrifier. So don't shoot the messenger. I mean, don't shoot me. These are your fellow, anybody in the chat. These are your fellow Terrifier fans. And I'm not saying that you feel this way. I'm just saying that there were enough people that I noticed it had said that just got back from seeing Terrifier 3, thought it was good, didn't like it as much as 2. But then some people added to that and said that, it was definitely, there was a lot of blood, there was a lot of gore. They said, and I haven't seen, 3 yet. I'm just paraphrasing what I remember them saying in DMs to me. They would say, or even in the chat on certain shows, they would say that there's definitely more gore, but I don't know if there's something that tops the bedroom scene. It's just there's more of that kind of bedroom
from part
scene.
2?
Right.
Yeah.
And so you could say that Terrifier 3 is gorier, yes, but that would be because there's more of those kinds of scenes in the movie. And so that leaves me to wonder, and then I'll finish with this and I'll let you talk. It leaves me to wonder, where does Damien, because one of the hooks, one of the shticks, one of the gimmicks, and I say that, in a positive way, because you could look at the words gimmick, hook, and shtick, in a negative way. I don't mean it like that. One of the hooks that gets you in the theater is you go to see how crazy is it going to be now? You go, I need to see what they're going to top now. There's the hacksaw scene, and then you go, and there's the bedroom scene, and then you go, and then there was this scene, and then you go, and that's why you go. It's one of the reasons why you go. And so eventually you get to a point where, what is the line that Leone is not willing to cross? And or is it a situation where he has to resort to, I can't cross that line, so I'm just going to do more of it. And more of it will create the illusion that it's gorier, when in reality, it's just more of the same kind of gore. It's not like that you're necessarily, and I'm just saying that, right? So when part 4 comes around, I'll be very curious to see where does he go, right? Like, how far does he go? What's up? You're still live?
Yep. You totally dipped out on me there for a second. I lost everything. All right, cool.
Oh, sorry. No, that's okay. So that's kind of interesting where, I think about that. Like, how far is it going to go? Where is it going to go? What is sort of the end kind of thing? And it'll be interesting to see what he does with 4. But we cannot, I'm not taking anything away from its success, but we cannot deny, and I say this with all due respect to anybody out there who disagrees vehemently and completely, I think you're crazy to think that the excessive, gratuitous, unrated, crazy, exploitative splatter type gore, like guts and just all the stuff that is I mean our parents used to not want us to watch Friday the 13th because they thought, in their minds, our parents thought we were watching like Terrifier level shit. Like, I can't even imagine what our parents would think of that now. So I think you're crazy to think that isn't part of the reason, if not a large reason, that is getting people into the theaters. I mean, there's a whole sort of subsection of the audience that is tricking their family and their parents and their grandmas to go and see it because of that, right? And so, I question how far that's going to go, and what is that sort of, can it go on and on and on and on? I don't know. But these people that reached out to me said, yeah, it was okay. It was just more of the same. It was just more of the same. Even those Terrifier fans that reached out to me felt that even with 3, felt that maybe it had started its trajectory turn, right? Started its turn, that now the novelty and the shock is beginning to wear off.
It's just more of the same. It was, other than a couple of shocking things where he offed the little kid in the beginning. He fucking hacked him up. I mean, you don't see it, you see the aftermath, which Dave knows because I've already talked with him about this. And then there's a moment with him as Santa Claus in the mall, and it's like, okay, like, I get what he was doing, like, because at this point, like, anything that art does, I'm not going to be shocked by it because I fully expect that that's what it is. But it's just like morale start to kick in. It's like, okay, are we going too far with this stuff just because of entertainment?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, seeing little kids being hacked up and shit like that, and like showing it. Like, right. I'm just like, yeah, well, I love horror movies. I do. But there's just, I don't know. There's just certain things I just don't like. And that was
And that's fair. And that's totally fair, right? But I would, and I don't know Damien personally, I've never talked to him, but I would assume that was a creative choice he put in there because he knew that's something that takes it up another notch, right? So I wonder now, what is it with 4?
Yeah, was he going to do animals now? What is it? Animals and shit?
What is it that 4 is going to do that's going to outshine, not just more of the same, but what's 4 going to do that's going to be something you've never seen? I don't know. It's interesting. But listen, it's an interesting discussion talking about films and products of their time, and whether or not certain, films belong in certain eras. There was a comment from Josh Stevens in the chat that I just wanted to quickly address because it's a good one. He says, Dave, Nosferatu contradicts your point. It proves you can take a vampire movie and make it great with good writing and production value. You don't need a vampire TV show.
But it was still set in the period in which it originally came out.
That's true, but that's the point I was going to make. It was set in the period for which the original story was created.
That's what we're saying. Like, if you make a Halloween movie, set it in 1970.
And Nosferatu isn't a franchise. And so you're not dealing with Nosferatu 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6. So your probability of delivering one successful vampire film telling the story of Dracula or Nosferatu is, if it's really good and you've got like Robert Eggers or you've got, some, I don't know, like Zach, Kreger or somebody who's a great horror filmmaker, your probability goes up that you're probably going to deliver a terrific rendition and version of that story because there is no there is no expectation of Nosferatu 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6. And so when it comes to these slasher films, there is, because they were built on that. They were created on that. That's what like, even the bad movies, even if they were bad, they were still out there and they were talked about. And that's what was their staying power. And I don't feel today, because of where we are in the world of horror, that you can deliver a string, I'm ready to be proven wrong, but a string of Friday the 13th movies that continued to make money at the box office, like you did in the 80s. I mean, Halloween did 3 of them, but they were diminishing returns. Day and Date played a part in that. But look what happened with the fan base, right? Halloween 18, we were all like, okay, not bad, it's pretty good. Halloween 2 was divisive. Halloween Kills was like, Evil Dies Tonight. We're all kind of making fun of it.
Halloween Kills had some moments.
And then comes Ends, and what happens? Rah! And it's like, and that just took 2 sequels,
I can't believe I got forced to watch that movie twice. Thanks, Dave.
Yeah, no problem. But anyway, it's an interesting discussion. Folks, if you're watching live or if you're watching after the fact especially, jump into the comment section and let Tony and I know your thoughts on anything we had to say here today in terms of, these movies from that time, especially for, our age, your late 40s, early 50s, of course. If you grew up with these films, let us know your thoughts.
Would you want to see, any of these movies if they do redo them? And we don't mean redo them in the sense of like redo Halloween exactly the way the 78 film, like my idea, right? You jump right into it. It's new story. It's Halloween night, but it's set in the 70s. Nightmare on Elm Street set in the 80s. Friday the 13th set in the 70s or 80s. Texas Chainsaw set in the 70s. That's what we're saying, is that it's made today, but we're setting it back to when these first films came out. And I just think that there's something aesthetically to that when we see that, like, yeah, this is where these characters belong, right here. Let's go.
Right. No, it's true. And there's many reasons for that. It's why when they do make those Universal monster movies, they tend to want to set them in the time periods for which they were. Right. And why when you don't, sometimes it doesn't work, like Tom Cruise and The Mummy. I mean, that's a bad example, but
no, but you're right. There's proof. That's a valid point.
Yeah. Anyways, okay, let me see here. Chat room now. What's going on, chat room? Brandon Collins says in a member chat, thank you, Brandon, one of our great mods here, says 5 years from now.
Eddie Chase also sent in one before we got bumped off. He sent in a $20 one.
I see it here. Yep. I've got it. Thank you. 5 years from now, we will be talking about the new AI Jason film one of us made that week by computer prompt. This is the future of these franchises. It's true. Yeah. It's true. There is truth in that.
A lot of truth to that.
Truth to that for sure. Let me see here. Let me go back and get that. Hang on a sec here. Eddie Chase sends in a very generous super chat of 20 shekels. Says, love this topic. Love the OG characters and films, but I think it was a product of the time. Recent films, H-18 trilogy, mostly good, but will get too much criticisms from our nostalgia and will never recreate the camp of the 80s. That is true. That is true. I mean, they were a product of their time, whether it's the camp, the cheese, the acting, the boobs, the teens, the blood. I mean, they are to try and again, that's why the Crystal Lake series is going to be very interesting. But I think
that's the key right now. That's that's again from what I have seen from the still images. I'm excited because it visually, aesthetically, it looks like a Friday the 13th. But now let me see the story.
Yes. Yeah. It's going to be interesting. Let me see here. Josh McKenna, $1.99 says, what's a movie so disturbing you couldn't finish it? None. I don't think there's ever been a movie I found so disturbing I couldn't means so scary. Like, oh my,
I wouldn't say scary, but disturbing that I had a hard time watching.
Cannibal Holocaust?
Cannibal Holocaust. That was like, what the fuck did I just sign up for?
Yeah, that's a rough one.
The first part of that film it's kind of a slow burn, but as far as getting to like the holy shit part.
Yeah.
But once it gets to the holy shit part, it's just like doesn't stop. And I was like, what the fuck? And the crazy thing is it's on Peacock now, and that movie was banned when it first came out.
Is it the unrated version or is it okay? Because there is an edited version as well.
No, like you see dude schlong getting cut off and shit. Like it was just like, all right, like what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like
see now again, if Terrifier had come out at that time, that's the category it would have been lumped into. That exploitative.
It totally would have been banned.
100%
would have been banned.
100%. And so there is there is an allure to the Terrifier franchise because of that excessive, gratuitous, I shouldn't be seeing this. I feel like I'm watching something illegal kind of vibe to the whole kind of thing, right? And so I don't know if Art the Clown would be nearly as successful. Maybe, I don't know, if Terrifier were regular rated R horror movies. I'm not sure. And then the Classically Deceased sends in $5, says, hey guys, are you going to see Good Boy? I saw it last weekend and loved it. It had amazing, creepy mood and atmosphere. The dog's performance was amazing. I don't know if you know that one. That's the one with the dog. It's a horror movie. I think it's told through the perspective of the dog, right? Like something happens to the family or something or whatever. You should watch a trailer. It looks interesting. I won't get to the theater to see it, but when it comes to streaming, I'll definitely check it out for sure.
The only movie I just saw recently with Christina was we went and saw Paul Anderson's new film with DiCaprio and Benicio.
Oh yes,
One Battle After Another.
Yes,
it was good. Long but good.
Long but
good.
But good. Yeah. DiCaprio is usually great in everything he's in.
Him and Benicio del Toro's chemistry together was really fucking good.
Right.
Really good. Like I almost like I want a movie with these two, just these two, like and just like a almost like a serious comedy type movie. Because like first of all, like DiCaprio's physical comedy in this at times was like he's good. Like he was funny, and you don't really see that out of him very much.
Right.
But yeah, if you haven't seen Paul Anderson, well, first of all, Paul Anderson, Boogie Nights is probably one of my favorite films by him.
Yeah.
And he also The Master with Joaquin and Philip Seymour Hoffman's are really great movies, but probably Boogie Nights would be my favorite. And this is really good. Aside from the length, it was just I felt like 2 hours and 45 minutes. I was like, all right, we got to cut this out by a half hour.
Right. I got you. Yeah. One of the things too I wanted to mention before we wrap up was one of the things, and maybe it's hit this mark, maybe it's depending on the person, I don't know. But one of the things I was thinking about the Terrifier films when I was, again, I haven't seen 3 yet. I'm just going based on 1 and 2. When you watch Terrifier 1, the first film, obviously it's a low budget film, $40,000. It's gritty. It's got that more of that grindhouse, more of that, I shouldn't be watching this exploitative kind of vibe to it. The film grain. I think it was shot, Was it shot digitally or was it shot on 16? I'm not sure. No, it couldn't have been shot
The first
on film.
one?
Yeah, no, it couldn't have been shot on film. That would have been way. Oh, it might have been, but I think that would have been very. Shooting on film, folks, is very expensive. It was probably shot digitally. Maybe they put like a grain on it, or maybe it was just the cameras they were using. And anyways, the dark scenes you see a lot of grain. But that film, you watch that and it's got a very disturbing feel to it. Like it's got a very eerie, disturbing feel to it. One of the things you run the risk of, the gorier and gorier you get, whether it's your intention or not, is suddenly things become comical because they're so over the top and they're so sensationalized and they're so ridiculous that if your goal is to shock and make people go, oh, the more you do it, you also run the risk of the desensitization and people just finding it funny and hilarious. And I'm not saying that's happened yet. Again, I haven't seen the third one. But that's one thing.
Point. That is a valid point.
That is one thing, because if you go too crazy, it's so ridiculous. It's just funny. You know what I mean? Because it's like, oh, this is just insane. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. And maybe that's where it is for some people. I'm not sure, but hugely successful nonetheless. Hugely successful nonetheless. But yeah, are these films, the Freddys, the Jasons, the Michaels, the Leatherfaces, even Scream in large part? I mean, you can take anything if you want. Are they products of their time? Should they stay in their time period and we look to the future for new? Or if you are going to bring them back, as Tony has said multiple times here, do you bring them back and set them in the time periods for which they were created so you can leverage their cultural sort of footprint and the aura around the character itself within the decade and the era for which they came about? That's something to think about as well. So I think that's all that was all the super chats I think that came in.
Just a couple of quick questions, Norm.
Sure, yeah, man. You
wrap up.
Yeah, you fire away there. You find one maybe that.
Well, no, you can grab them.
All right, I'll grab one. Let me grab one. Let me grab one. Let me see here. Brandon Collins says, just a statement, one battle after another has one of the greatest car chase scenes ever put on film.
Oh my God, that was so fucking good.
Much like Bullet, it's going to change the way a lot of filmmakers shoot those scenes. I've heard about this.
When you see that scene, dude, we'll talk about that. That was so fucking good.
Cool,
the way he did that, yeah.
Very cool, very cool. Let me see here. I thought Terrifier came out in 2016. It did. Did I say it? Oh, I see. No. Lost Boy says Terrifier is 10 years old, 2016. Well, I mean, it's basically 10 years old, right? Basically 10 years old.
Well, keep in mind, the character came out in All Hallows Eve in the shorts that he did, which I don't know when.
Well, that's true. That would have been like 2008. But in terms of
that's the first time Art the Clown was introduced
somewhere around there.
All Hallows Eve in the shorts that he did in that movie.
Yeah. J.G. Michael says literally every story is a product of its time and historical context it comes out of. That's true. But some are timeless because of the themes, because of, in terms of society, socially, economically, psychologically, some stories are timeless and therefore you can tell them over and over again and they still resonate, no matter which time you're in. With certain characters and certain stories, as I'm sure you know, they are very much products of the era or the decades for which they are, born. And, there is an argument to be made, and I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm just saying there is an argument to be made that some of these slasher villains are very much a product of their times, and in terms of the era, the decades, the pop culture, the references, all that kind of stuff. And so, I don't know. It's interesting. Very interesting.
Oh, what are your guys' thoughts on Black Phone 2 and the grabber becoming more like Freddy Krueger? Yeah, I
haven't seen
did see the trailer. Well, I saw the trailer when we saw the Paul Anderson movie.
Right.
I didn't realize that I guess he's a little bit more like Freddy in this film. That these are more dream sequences.
Right.
I guess I don't know. I haven't seen the movie yet, so I don't know. But I did like the first film. So when I get the opportunity, I don't know if I will see it in theaters, but when I do get the chance to watch it, yeah, I'm sure we'll talk about it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. Josh McKenna, $1.99 says, what's your favorite Leonardo DiCaprio movie? For me, I have several. I mean, he's great in everything he's in. Yeah, obviously, The Revenant was amazing.
He's like one of my favorite actors. Yeah. It's like
he's The Departed, The Revenant. I mean, he's amazing. You know, The Aviator. He's amazing in everything he's in. One of the movies I love him in, I think it's underrated.
Wolf
of Wall Street was great. Was a little film where he reunited with Kate Winslet. I think it's 2008.
Oh, Revolutionary Road.
Revolutionary Road is a fantastic movie.
Intense movie about a couple in Connecticut. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very intense.
And the
definitely not Jack and Rose.
No, the performances though are fantastic.
Really good.
Great. And Michael Shannon, he's great in it.
Yeah, those two need to hook up again for a film.
I agree. I agree, 100%.
Shit, man. Like, there's early years where fucking, Gilbert Grape is such a great movie. Yes. Marvin's Room, which is one that doesn't get talked about, that's with him. Yes. And Meryl Streep and Diane Keaton. Really, really good movie. If you've never seen Marvin's Room, check it out.
Yep.
Obviously, This Boy's Life, which was one of his first films he did with Robert De Niro. That's a fucking phenomenal film.
Yep.
Romeo and Juliet was the MTV. Romeo and Juliet, like, is whatever. It's not bad. Just it's whatever. Yeah. Obviously, Titanic is Titanic.
Oh. By the way, no. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was gonna say. Then The Beach. That was a pretty interesting film as well too. Man in the Iron Mask was okay. I wasn't a totally big fan of that.
Right.
Gangs in New York. I fucking love that film with him and Daniel Day-Lewis. Great fucking movie. Blood Diamond is another fucking good movie that I enjoy of him. And he, the one I haven't watched all of. No, I watched most of it. I didn't get through all of it. I did like most of it. Was Shutter Island. I know.
Oh, Shutter Island. I love that movie. Yeah. That's
another great one. I didn't get through all of it. That's one of my ones I got to go back and rewatch.
Oh, it's great.
I forgot why I had to stop watching it. Not that I wasn't liking it. There's just something had happened and I had to stop watching it.
Yeah. No, it's fantastic.
Inception, fucking great, film. Would love to see him link up with Chris Nolan again.
Yeah.
It's so hard. Wolf of Wall Street also. Even, like, I just watched it again. It's becoming my almost like I watch it once a year film because I just fucking love it.
Yeah.
Is Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Yeah, it's great.
That's a really good fucking film. So it's just like, I know he's probably my favorite actor of all time. I mean, I know his entire filmography, even the Growing Pain days with the Seaver family.
Yes.
For those who don't know. The Departed. Someone just said that's another one. The Departed.
Departed.
Great.
It's great.
It's like hard to like pick like what film. You mentioned The Aviator, right?
Yes.
Basketball Diaries. Man, that's right. That was the first time him and Mark Wahlberg worked together. That's another great film based on a true story of Jim Carroll. Yeah, Jim Carroll. Fucking great movie. Then Critters, right? Critters 3. Oh my gosh, forgot about.
He was in that.
Yeah, he's in Critters 3. I think that Brandon, correct me if I'm wrong. That may have come out before This Boy's Life, so technically that could have been his first movie, and then he did This Boy's Life with. Those two are like real fucking close as far as when he did them.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, he's just one of those. He's a generational actor. He's our Brando or Bogart or Cagney.
He's one of them for sure.
You know what I mean? Like, he's just Redford, Newman, however you want to compare him to. But certainly for Dave and I, he's, we're close to his age. He's he's that generational actor for us that there's just not.
He's great in everything he's in.
Yeah, there's just not too many movies I can sit there and say like even Revolutionary Road. It's not a movie that I will watch like often of his because it's a very intense movie.
It is. It's a drama.
Django Unchained. That's another fucking great film. Yeah, like just like so many good films. Yeah. So yeah, we should do it.
Titanic is great. Yeah, we should.
Yeah, I mean, Titanic is Titanic.
Great film.
You know what I mean?
Yep,
Like
great film.
fucking
Romeo and Juliet. Did you mention that one?
Did I
Romeo and Juliet?
that? Yeah,
it's good stuff.
Yeah, it's just so many fucking films.
For sure.
And now I guess he's doing another one with Scorsese.
Yeah. Oh, what a shock.
Oh, you know, I said too, I was telling this to my dad because I was telling him about the Paul Anderson film. Because anytime I see a DiCaprio movie, I always talk about it with my dad afterwards. Like, yeah, you should go see this, or go check this out. And I was telling him, I was like, you know, because of the comedy that he did, if he didn't do something again with Benicio del Toro, who he would work great with, because this guy is such a good serious actor and comedian actor, is him and John C. Reilly. Like those two, I could see the two of them, because John C. Reilly can keep up with anyone on film. He's a great actor. And because DiCaprio really tapped into his physical comedy in this movie, that I could see those two doing like a serious comedy type buddy film together, and it would be fucking hilarious. Just because John C. Reilly's John C. Reilly. And you know, I'd like to see DiCaprio maybe tap into more of this, you know, comedic stuff.
I'd like to see him do like a Shutter Island type of film again, in the sense of not
another type, like horror film, but not
a horror film. Yeah, like a horror film. Yeah, I'd like to see him do like a horror film, or maybe like a detective, horror thriller or something. And he's I don't know. I really loved him in that role. I thought he was, but he's great in everything. He's great in everything. It doesn't matter what he does.
You know, 100%.
He could play
Gatsby.
Yeah, that's a good movie. The Great Gatsby is great. I mean, he could play Bambi and he'd be great, you know. He'd be great as Bambi. You know, he'd be amazing. But yeah, great question.
Yeah, you know what? Someone John Ball brought up a good point. I'm surprised he hasn't done one yet. He'd like to see DiCaprio work on a war picture. You know, that's true. He has never done, just figuring him and just like, you would think by now he would have done maybe like a World War II type movie.
I'd love to see him work with Spielberg too. I don't think he has.
Yes, he did. Catch Me If You Can.
Oh, Catch Me If You Can. That's right. Of course.
He worked with Tom
Of course. That's a great film.
Which is another great movie.
Another great movie. Of course. How could I forget Catch Me If You Can? I love that movie. Of course he worked with Spielberg. But he just did it once, I think. But
that's it. Just that one time. Yeah, there's a few actors I'd like to see him work with. I'd like to see him work with maybe Tom Cruise in the right film. Not maybe action, because I guess, because I don't know if he's done an action movie.
Right.
Action to like Tom Cruise level.
Right.
Now, I don't see DiCaprio hanging off of airplanes, but that would be kind of interesting to see him do an action type movie, maybe with Tom Cruise. Especially because in One Battle After Another, with the physical comedy and some of the things that he had to do in there, I could see him doing an action film. I mean, he's not gonna keep up with Cruise, but certainly he could, stay with it.
Play against type too. Do what Harrison Ford did in What Lies Beneath. Play against type, because
playing the bad guy. Yes,
but you don't know it. You know what I mean? Like maybe it turns out, that would be interesting, because DiCaprio is usually the good guy to some degree. He's usually a good guy, right?
Right. I don't know if he's ever played a bad guy.
He's not really. Was he a bad guy in Django Unchained? Is he sort of a kind of a scoundrel kind of? I mean, he's played.
I wouldn't necessarily model my life after the character he played in Django Unchained.
He's played complicated characters, anti-heroes, and things like that.
That's a good word to use. The Django Unchained character was more of a complicated character,
right?
But I mean, he wasn't like evil.
I mean, it would be really cool to see him play like a father and a husband.
He did some fucked up shit.
Throw DiCaprio into a film where he has to be married to a woman his own age.
Yeah, right.
Hey, Leonardo, you have to kiss this 47-year-old woman. I'm sorry she's not, 19, like how you usually date women that age.
That's a valid. Yeah, people are agreeing. Yeah, Django. He's evil. Like I tried to say like complicated, but then I started thinking of a few scenes, and I'm like, yeah, that's kind of fucked up what he did.
Yeah,
Like,
I got you.
That's, like few words that he was saying, like,
Right.
it's not good.
Oh yeah, no, I've seen. Yeah, that's true.
But it would be cool to see him play almost like, or even a Norman Bates type character.
Right.
That kind of
yeah,
evil.
yeah,
Like,
exactly.
just, like,
Oh, he'd be
like a psychological killer type person.
He would be
He
very
would be really
good as he'd be good as Norman Bates. Now I think
He'd be great as Norman Bates.
think he
might be too old.
He's at
maybe
least a few
years
he might
older
be too old.
He's a few years older than us.
I was gonna say he might be too handsome, but at the same time, Tony Perkins was handsome, very handsome, but he was a lot younger. At that time. So yeah, he might be a little too old.
Yeah, he would be a good, or Norman,
or like a Norman
character.
Bates type of character. Doesn't have to be Norman Bates, but in that kind of a role.
Bates.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Inspired by.
They're
kind of thing.
making. Oh shit! They're making Heat 2 with Michael Mann and DiCaprio.
I've heard something about that. I have to look up to see the validity of it and make sure it didn't come from Billy Bob's fart blog, or if it's not just a rumor that's been around for a while. I have heard that Mann wants to do a Heat 2, but whether it's we want to do it and it's happening are two completely different things, ladies and gentlemen. So I have to find out. It could be happening, but movie fans tend to often misread things. I'm not saying it's not happening. I just haven't looked into it. But this was good. This was a good discussion, man. This was a good discussion.
Yeah, this was fun.
All right, folks.
You're going to be gone for a little bit. Do you want to let them know what you're doing?
Not yet. I will soon, though.
Okay. We'll be back at the end of the month, I think.
Yeah, no,
we're going to try at least. We're going to make an effort.
Yes, we'll be back at the end of the month for another show, and then in November we're going to try and knock off. We have two more. Perk shows we have to do for the It's Me Billy Chapter 2 campaign. Yeah, there's two more of those left we have to do, but Christmas is around the corner as well, so that'll be a lot of fun. Great show tonight, folks. Tony, any last things you want to say?
No, this was fun. Good hanging out, good catching up, and I'll see you guys in a couple weeks.
Sounds good, man. All right, folks, comment below. Let us know your thoughts on anything we had to say here today, but especially the main topic. Tony and I will be back soon with another episode of Two Dudes and Some Bullshit. Thanks for tuning in, folks. My name's Dave McRae. He's Tony Michael. Thanks to the Super Chats. Thanks to our moderators. Thanks to the people who are hanging out, the McCrazies. You guys are awesome. We'll talk to you all very soon. All righty. Cheers!